Hey, so I'm going to be showing some routing tricks for VCV Rack in Ableton. Obviously, VCV Rack is a standalone program. It's a Eurorack simulator, but if you pay for the Pro version, you have a VST version that you can embed in Ableton. This has a couple benefits. For me, most importantly, is you can do your sequencing in Ableton. So, various automations, etc. So, typically what you do is you do some MIDI in a MIDI track and you add the VCV Rack to MIDI effect, and then in here you basically read from your this is a MIDI to CV converter module, and you take the VOCT and you plug that into let's say FM op. This is just basic how to make kind of a synth with VCV Rack, and it's pretty similar to what you'd have in Serum, I guess, although I haven't really used that. But the point is that this VST is extremely powerful. So that's cool. So then you can do your sequencing here, but make VCV Rack actually make the noise for you. But the one nice thing about VCV Rack standalone is that you have this big patch and sort of everything is going on in here, and you have a lot of flexibility to crosswire things. So you can use like one track's MIDI to control another track's audio and all sorts of sophisticated stuff like that. And Ableton just isn't really designed for that. So for example, if I have MIDI here, the only place that can use that MIDI is in a VST on this particular track. So if I have multiple MIDI streams, then it means I have to have multiple VCV Rack patches, which I find can mess with my workflow a little bit. I kind of just like to have everything in one patch, in one location. So that's one thing I'm going to be covering of how to get around that. Number two is audio. So if you have basically multiple audio streams coming from different places in Ableton, how do you combine those all into a single VCV Rack patch? So let me actually start with that one. I have a little complicated thing going on here, and I will explain this all in time so you can understand how it works. But just for what's out the box, let's say I have like this track over here, if you noticed, this is sends only, this one right here. And if I play this, you should be able to hear something. Let me just check the OBS. Yeah, you can hear that. It's just some random demo sound. So this is sends only, which means normally you wouldn't be able to hear it. But then I have this processor patch over here, and the VCV Rack VST has a sidechain input. And basically if you go in there, and you go to the audio, there's an audio node, right? And, with DAW, and then basically the 1 to 2 in is going to be the audio coming from this track, but the 3 to 4 in is going to be the sidechain input. So out the box, you can, in theory, mix two sources basically. Whatever audio is coming here from before this FX VST. In this case, there's nothing, so that might be a little confusing, but in theory, I could put MIDI here. Well, this is an audio processor, but anyway, in theory, I could have some audio playing on this track. That would be accessible with 1 to 2, but then I also have this side chain, which is accessible in 3 to 4. And so, obviously in here, I then can just plug those both into a mixer and then output back to DAW 1, 2. So that's sort of built into VCV Rack, and no tricks are required for that. But in order to really go freeform and to say I want to mix 5 different audio sources into one patch, then you actually, so I should say, I'm doing this tutorial for OS X. I don't know the equivalent on Windows. I'm sorry about that. What I do here is I go to Audio MIDI Setup, and I basically go plus, create aggregate device, and then I have two devices that I care about. UMC is my audio interface, so that's really ultimately where I want my output going to, so that I can hear it in my headphones. And then the second one is Blackhole, which you can download from the internet for free. Blackhole is a virtual audio cable driver. It just basically, if you send audio here, you can read it from other places on your computer. It's like a loopback. So yeah. So basically, this is an aggregate device, which means it's one device with some 34 inputs, 36 outputs. But actually, inputs 1 to 18 are the UMC. Inputs 19 to 34 are the Blackhole. And then there's similar distribution for the output channels. And just note that there's a different number of input channels and output channels. So if you're writing to, for example, input 19, you're actually going to access that output through output 21. So there's just a little bit of an offset going there, something to keep in mind. So now I have that aggregate device, and I'm going in Ableton here, and my input config is set to that, output config is set to that. I have all these stereo inputs activated. And yeah, so what is my computer set to? My computer is set to output from the UMC. So basically, whatever I ultimately send out to 1.2, I'm going to hear. But then if I send anything out to basically any of these last ones right here, that's actually going to be going to the loop back. So let me just show you how I do this audio routing trick here. So this one is called send audio, and this is actually just a typical kind of analog MIDI instrument. You can hear that here, but let me show you what's actually going on with this. So I'm sending audio X'd out to 2122, right? If we go back here, that's, where did my audio MIDI setup go? Sorry. I don't know what happened. Audio. There's like a view. Hide Media Studio. What the? Show network device. I lost the window. Sorry. This one. Sorry. So I'm going to 2122. That's the first two on the Blackhole. That's actually Blackhole 1 and 2. So keep that in mind here. And then in this processor, which is sort of my master module, I have an audio right here. And I've set this to core audio, and I'm actually reading input from Blackhole 1, 2. So this is how you're able to hear that sound. It's going from here to Blackhole, and then reading Blackhole in this processor, and then going out to this mixer. This mixer is then sending out to the DAW. And the DAW, so it's kind of a free-form audio routing system, but you can understand that in theory. I can make any number of different audio senders that are going to these different channels, and then read them all in my processor using the VCV Rack audio node. So VCV Rack is like really enabling some stuff that Ableton can't do out the box here. It's pretty cool. So as for MIDI, so let me just give an example. So here's send MIDI. So there's just some random MIDI clip playing right here. Okay, and then I'm gonna stop. It's kind of annoying. So on my process, let me just explain what's going on here. So in this send MIDI thing, it's a very minimal VCV Rack 2 patch, and this is taking the V-octane gate and using this. Oh, sorry. Why is it taking my keystrokes? You type in teleport, and then it's teleport in, and you plug that into there, these two. And then there's this little name thing where you give it a name. And this is basically like a way to, like it says, to teleport data from one VCV Rack instance to another. So I'm sending this MIDI information to M1, and then on my processor, I am reading it here using teleport out, okay, from M1. And then now I have my V-oct and my gate in here, and if you can see, oh, I can't. Oh, sorry, I'm not playing. Sorry. So you can see the V-oct is changing, and it's just playing through this little stupid MIDI sequence I have here. You know, and yeah, in theory, I could actually just, I could play this MIDI, right? And I'm playing with my instrument. Yeah, so, you know, that's how that's working. So basically, this is how you can have like a master patch, which just routes in a bunch of different audio and a bunch of different MIDI sources. And you can use Ableton for those audio and MIDI sources. So you can, you know, do your MIDI sequencing in multiple tracks. And you can, you know, use Ableton's native sample playing for the audio sources, or the synths, etc. But the real benefit is that you can then bring all that into a single VCV Rack patch at the end of the day. So anyway, this is a very niche topic, but I don't think anybody else has talked about this much, especially with using teleport in the VST Ableton. It's really quite a hack. All right, hope that's useful.